Hey friends, welcome to another edition of 4 Minutes on Friday. Was thinking today in relation to our 4 minutes. I was thinking about the term, or really the phrase of living free or being free, and the context I was thinking of it really revolves around that conversation, or that verbiage is used in addiction counseling, and those who have been freed from addiction. And there, I just used it even kind of subconsciously. And it is very appropriate that the idea of being freed from something that was enslaving you is very appropriate in those addiction kind of conversations. Um, but the idea of being freed from something that was kind of imprisoning you is not just the domain of addiction counseling or coming to terms with your addiction. I think it is appropriate for us in a lot of avenues. I think sometimes we end up becoming enslaved or imprisoned to attitudes, hurt feelings, relationships that are unhealthy. And I don't mean imprisoned in like you're being forced to stay in a relationship. That's probably a whole other conversation that we could have, or probably someone better equipped than me to have. But simply choosing to be in relationship or holding on to attitudes or hurt feelings in ways that are extraordinarily unhealthy. And so in addiction counseling, the conversation revolves around making better choices and choosing no longer to be imprisoned by those things. And I think the same thing can apply to when we talk about being freed from our past, poor choices, relationships, those kind of things. The tension that I kind of landed on and thinking about this is that a lot of times we will talk about being freed from something, but not really living free from those things. In addictions, that it becomes very obvious when someone is kind of caught in that cycle of saying they're free but not really living free, because they end up cycling back into those addictions, whether they be substances or behaviors or choices, that kind of thing. Something that I think is extraordinarily, put my light back on. Something I think is extraordinarily important is recognizing the difference between simply saying that you're free and actually living that out. As a Christ follower, I am absolutely convinced that God wants us to live in ways that are extraordinarily free. Free not just for ourselves, not for our own betterment, or even our just being a more whole person, but that we would live free so that we reflect the face of Christ. So you don't have to believe in that to know that what I'm talking about is true. That sometimes we say that we are free from XYZ, that we're free from alcohol, or that we're free from poor decisions in relationships, but actually living that out, that is a struggle. Some of us say that we're free, but we don't live in that freedom at all. So for me, as a Christ follower, I know that the only way that I can fully live into the freedom that I know that God has called me to live in is to fully trust Him, to trust Him more, to lean into that. Now, maybe that is not where you land. Maybe that's not where you don't have that belief system, and that is, I'm not condemning that or weighing any kind of judgment on that. Quite honestly, that's something you have to figure out. But I know without any doubt that my freedom lies in my relationship with Jesus. So my encouragement for you today is to acknowledge that maybe there are places in your life that you have said you're free. You're free from whatever it is that first kind of comes to your mind, or whatever it is that you don't really want to think about. You said that you're free, but you're not living in that freedom at all. I would highly encourage you to explore that, to be honest with yourself, I think we've talked on here before about how self honesty is the gateway to um, becoming the kind of person that, again, I'm going to use my words here, becoming the kind of person that God has created you to be. Um, that begins with some self realization and some honesty about who you are and what you're doing and the kind of person that you're becoming. Okay, we're way over our time this morning. I hope this has been helpful and encouraging to you. See you next week.